this time, we call the meeting to order. I'd like to ask everyone who can to rise and join us in a moment of silent reflection. Thank you. Please be seated. We begin this morning with a calling of the roll. Councillor Arnold. Present. Councillor Boucher. Councillor Bradley. Present. Councillor Broad. Present. Councillor Brusewich. Councillor Case. Present. Councillor Cook. Present. Councillor Gilliland. Present. Councillor Gillis. Present. Councillor McDougall. Present. Councillor Hand. Present. Councillor Marriott. Councillor McCharles. Councillor McGugan. Councillor Napper. Councillor Veen. Councillor Weber. The roll has been called and we have a quorum. Very good morning, ladies and gentlemen, County Council and distinguished guests. It's my pleasure to welcome you all to the 2016 election of the Warden and Deputy Warden. Lambton County, although it has a very long history, was legally recognized as a county in 1849. That means we've been doing this since before Confederation. You're in the very bedrock of the democratic institution of Canada. We have been at this for longer than we've been a country. And today's proceedings are a really nice mixture of the old and the new. In the new, we're podcasting, we're webcast, we're governed by the Municipal Act 2001. This is a formal meeting of County Council. All of the laws and the rules apply. But with the old, we've been at this since prior to Confederation. There's going to be some pomp, there's going to be some ceremony. If we're lucky, there's going to be some bagpipe music. And it's a wonderful mix of tradition, the old with the new. So we're really kind of excited to see what transpires this morning. To get to the actual substance, we're going to begin with the election of the warden. At this time, we have 3 declared candidates. Each of those candidates is going to have the opportunity to address County Council. They're 3 minutes. There's a timer on the back right wall. The candidates are invited up to the where delegates normally speak at council meetings, to my far right, to give their remarks. They're going to make the addresses in alphabetical order. So this year we'll be starting with Councillor McDougall. In the event of there are 17 votes. So between 3 candidates, a tie is certainly a theoretical possibility. In the event of a tie, the lowest ranking person, he or she with the lowest number of votes, will be removed and will have a secondary vote, a runoff vote, if you will. In the event of a tie at that point in time, the third round is the name of the 2 finalists put into a hat and drawn to determine the 2016 and 2017 warden. So that's how the election itself unfolds. At this point in time, we can, and I should point out that the scrutineers this year, those assisting the clerk in the counting of the ballots, are Councillors Ellen Broad and Bev Hand. At this point in time, it is my privilege and honour to invite Chief Joanne Rogers of the Aamjiwnaang First Nation to sit as chair of the meeting and County Council. Chief Rogers.
Welcome. Thank you. Thank you. Usually when I sit in a chair, it's like way down here. Thank you. Good morning. Is this the time when I can say a few words? Okay, there's been no rehearsals, so I'm just flying by the seat of my pants. Actually, in learning today, and I'm so honored to have been asked to be here and join with you today in the elections. I'm going to be learning a lot. Bonjour, Ani, that means hello, how are you? Anishna Ijnakajan, Juan Dijnakaz Ogama Kwa. I said, what are you called? I am called Joanne, and I'm Lady Chief of Amjadang. Amjadang Dujaba is where I'm from. I want to tell you a little bit about myself, so I know there's probably a lot of you out there saying, who is that lady up there? She looks nice. So what I want to do is tell you a little bit about myself. I am a lifelong resident of Amjadang. Formerly, we were called Chippewas of Sarnia. I was born and raised in my community. In April of this year, I celebrated 43 years of marriage to my husband, my only husband, Charles, whom is also a member of Amjadang as well. Me and my husband are raising our granddaughter, Emma Sage. We took her, we received and have had her since she's been 5 months old. Now she is 12 years old in grade 7. I have always been involved in my community by participating in various committees and projects, and I have always worked in my community. I've never worked outside of my community. I've served as band counselor in 1984, 1986. In 1993, I was appointed as a Justice of Peace for the province of Ontario. So I left my community. I was there for 21 years. When I was first appointed to that bench, I truly missed my community. It was hard, but I had many mentors who took me under their wing, supported me, and guided me. And one of those mentors is here today, and that's Her Worship Helen Gale. So nice to see her today. I retired in 2014, and I enjoyed my retirement for almost 2 years. Then the elections for chief and council came up in July of this year, and that will be for the term 2016-2018. I had many community members approach me and requested that I run for the position of chief. Well, the rest is history. Yes, the members of my community, Amjadang, made history on July 15th, 2016 by electing their first female chief. They wanted a change, and I have come to the conclusion that this is my calling. I now will set the example. I will be a mentor to all our little girls in the community, and I will tell them, yes, one day you could be our chief. I believe in setting an example and being a member to all our young people, especially to the young people in my community. Now, you're probably asking, and I ask myself, how did I get to be sitting in this chair today, to be your temporary chair? Well, let me tell you about that. It's about connections. I have a connection, and that connection is Mr. David Cribbs, your one and only county clerk, whom I had the pleasure of meeting while I was a Justice of Peace. I want to talk to you about connections. By volunteering to be your temporary chair today, I am making a connection. I am making new friends and contacts, creating a network of people, and that can only support Lambton County, the city of Sarnia, and my community of Amjadang. My simple definition of connection is joining or connecting to our neighbors. That is what I'm doing today. I'm connecting to Lambton County, which has 17 representatives from 11 local municipalities. Yes, I did a little research. I am connecting with you here today. Connecting with each other creates and engages involvement and attachments in our communities, making our communities the best place to live. By being connected, we build a strong Lambton County relationship, and that is important to me and my community. My vision as chief for my community of Amjadang is to be a leader in shaping a more thriving and vital relationship with our neighbors in all directions around us. That will make us all stronger in sharing and caring. This is important, again, to me and my community. So I am really glad and really honored to be part of this event today. Thank you. Okay, I guess we're now going to invite each of the three people to come forward. We'll start with Councillor McDougall to make a speech. I'm sorry? Yes, yes.
Lady Chief Rogers, I like that. Members of County Council and esteemed guests, I stand here before you seeking a second term as Warden of Lambton County. 2 years ago, you afforded me an opportunity to lead, and up the chain to senior levels of provincial and federal government, I fulfilled my vow to be a passionate voice of advocacy for issues affecting service delivery in Lambton County, community and economic development. I've been your voice for capital infrastructure needs and taxation fairness, reset conversations with MTO, sought senior government support for social and health service challenges, along with much-needed reform of senior service delivery. Serious conversations were undertaken with the Ontario government about cap and trade and how this program will impact our local economy. Advocacy for resources in the face of cap and trade challenges past 2020 has been undertaken to support efforts to reshape our local economy, including a strong hybrid chemistry cluster, and through academic and applied research, bio-industrial innovation, along with energy and economic development opportunities pursued around renewables. I am proud of my contributions to Western Ontario Wardens Caucus over the past 2 years and the funding we secured for extension of rural broadband internet services, in addition to consultation with local independents around future business opportunities afforded by this program. More recently, we've mobilized efforts towards the development of a strategic action plan for regional economic development in southwestern Ontario. My goal is to use a second term to finalize that plan and get on with the important business of implementing initiatives to bring shared prosperity to our region. Work at tourism development to expand tourism offerings in Lambton will continue. I want to use a second term to continue advocacy on behalf of the Oil Heritage District to elevate this asset through a UNESCO World Heritage Site designation and all it can do to advance tourism development in central Lambton. I will bring enthusiasm and vision to the development of a master plan for what more we can do with experiential tourism connected to our county forest and adjacent nature conservancy lands. With the Great Waterfront Trail extending through 5 waterfront municipalities and 3 First Nations communities of Lambton County, we are the right place in the right time to expand culture offerings and active transportation opportunities. You know me as a strong, vocal leader willing to take on tough issues and cast tough votes when needed, connected to the reality of responding to funding pressures affecting service delivery in Lambton. With empathy for the people we serve, I am ready to work with you and our dedicated staff in the interests of our taxpayers to maintain services to the best of our ability. Together, we'll get there. In closing, I've enjoyed a productive first term as Warden, working to advance your decision-making and with you to build up your communities as we build up Lambton County. I am keen to carry on for another 2 years, but as I have reminded myself many times over the past few weeks, I am up against 2 good men, and it is Council that decides who best will represent county interests moving forward, and I will accept that. Thank you so much for your consideration.
We'll ask Councillor Ian Bean to come up, please.
Honorable Chief Rogers, fellow councillors, ladies and gentlemen. For those of you who don't know me, I am Oil Springs Mayor and Deputy Warden Ian Bean. I have served on the County Council for 6 years, 2 of those years as Deputy Warden. I've served my community of Oil Springs for 6 years as Mayor and 14 years as Councillor. I currently own and operate a small business in the town of Petrolia for the past 22 years. I am on the Board of Directors for the Ontario Petroleum Institute, and I have also been on the Enniskillen Oil Springs Fire Department for 20 years. Over the past 2 years, I've learned so much as Deputy Warden. It has been a valuable learning experience. I've been asked by my peers why I want to serve as Warden. The answer is simple. I have a passion for serving the public, and I care about what happens here in Lambton County. This is my home, this is where I work, and this is where I've raised my family. There are many issues we face here in Lambton County, and one of those will entail the Warden to develop a strong relationships with the provincial and federal government officials and form strong partnerships wherever possible to take us well into the future. I realize this cannot be done alone by one person. It requires a team. I believe the team we have here as county councillors is a group to get things done for our communities. It's going to require leadership, communication, and collaboration from everyone here at the table. I have the skills to lead this team and move us into the future. If elected Warden, my honor will be to represent Lambton County during the 150th birthday celebration of Canada in 2017. My commitment is to work hard for the public and for the fellow councillors and our First Nation partners. Together we can change the future, and we can make Lambton County an even greater place to live. Thank you.
I'd like to call up Councillor Bill Weber, please.
Thank you, and good morning, Chief. Your talk on connections is very timely. Enjoyed that. Good morning and welcome, everyone. We are fortunate in this country to have the freedom to elect our representatives. Elected officials have been meeting in Lambton County for 100 years before I was born. A lot of dedicated people have served Lambton County very well. We thank them for making this a proud part of Ontario. Today, with the support of my wife Ginger and our family, I would like the opportunity to continue with that tradition of honest, caring representation, as previous wardens have done. In this changing and challenging world we live in, more than ever, elected representatives are looking to make decisions that when people look back on it in 20 and 30 years, they will say they did the right thing. They made the hard choice at the time, but it was the best for the future. The role of Warden as head of council is clear in the Municipal Act. It is basically to chair the meetings and promote the county at many levels. Beyond that, it is to provide a structure and atmosphere that everyone around this horseshoe has the ability to contribute and have their local needs listened to. And when we go to another level of government to make requests for Lambton and our rural Ontario and our city, those county councillors with the greatest local interest concerns need to be at the meeting table with the Warden making the best possible case in order to achieve positive results for our residents. Lambton has three main economic drivers. Of course, our industrial sector, working with our growing educational research and development area of excellence. We have a growing tourist industry. Our historic and natural resources have so much potential that needs to be promoted and developed to provide jobs and opportunity for our next generation. Our agriculture sector is developing new state-of-the-art initiatives that will feed and maybe power the world in an environmentally and sustainable way. As we go forward, these three areas will require continued effort and support so they are properly exploited for the world to see. We need to manage limited resources while exploring new possibilities using technology and improving connectivity to develop positive outcomes for all areas of Lambton County. The resources that exist here at the county headquarters need to be known and made available to our lower-tier municipalities so we can all become more efficient. All levels of municipal government have become overshadowed by regulations that require us to examine how we operate. This careful scrutiny can only help build trust regarding the public perception of elected officials. Openness and transparency are not just words, they are today's reality. How we do things is almost as important as what we do. Procedures and policies need to be followed, and consultation needs to be open. Council direction needs to be clear, and action needs to be timely. If we work together, we can achieve much. I ask for your support today, and my only promise, I will do my best to promote and support Lambton County issues if given the opportunity as your warden. Thank you very much.
At this time, I'd ask the scrutineers to come forward to collect the ballots. At this time, I'd ask the scrutineers to collect the ballots, please.
I just want to tell you why we were going like there was a spider crawling here. Did you see? So I'm going, and that's when he picked up the folder, and But I'm telling Mr. Van Horn that that must mean something.
Is that other duties as a sign run?
I said, it's a good thing that the spider wasn't coming down from the ceiling because I would have been going. Oh my God. They said I can talk while I'm up here, so yeah, I'm going to take advantage of that. I want to tell you a story about Councillor Bev McDougall. When I first started my duties as chief in July, I got an invitation from the Kiwanis to come and celebrate. I forget how many years now? 100 years. That was my first official duty. So I went, and there was all kinds of kids there. And Councillor McDougall was there, but I didn't know who she was at the time. And there was this lady that jumped on the picnic table, was yelling at all these kids, and I thought, who is that crazy lady? It was Councillor Bev McDougall. Anyway, that first meeting we had, she was so nice to me and welcomed me and introduced me to a lot of people. So that was my first encounter with Councillor Bev McDougall, and I will never forget it. Probably tell that story over and over again. Waiting, I can tell you a little bit about my community. Right now, we have myself as chief. We have seven councillors. We are allowed to have 9 councillors. Actually, we're allowed to have 12, but 1 councillor for every 100 members. But we've had 9 councillors probably for the last 15, 12, 16 years. We had a resignation of our former chief. He was a councillor, Chris Plain. What we're doing this our term as the 2016-2018, we are involving our community more in our decision making. When I was elected, I ran for both chief and council. You're allowed to do that under the Indian Act. We're still under the Indian Act. And surprisingly, it's never happened before, I got in for both chief and councillor. It only happens to me. So I had to make a decision whether I wanted to keep both positions. And what would have happened with that is before every meeting, I would have to declare whether I wanted to be the chief of the day or councillor of the day. So it doesn't take much to confuse me. So I thought, well, maybe I'll just keep the chief position. So we were entitled to have a by-election. And so instead of the council deciding, what we did is we posed that question to our membership. And they decided not to have a by-election because of the cost involved. So just recently, we had the resignation of Councillor Chris Plain. So now we have 2 seats available, and we're taking that question to our membership again. So it will be our membership who will determine. I found that the community was saying that they weren't being aware or informed. So what our council is determined to do is to keep our members informed. It's all about accountability and transparency. So that's what we're doing. We have approximately 2,382 members, and the only reason I know that number exactly is because I just went to the Rotary Club and told them the other day. So I spoke to them there. We have about 900 members that reside in our community, and the rest reside in the city of Sarnia or elsewhere in Canada or in the United States. So what we need, and somebody asked me at the Rotary Club, what are your priorities? Well, one of the priorities is getting housing in our community, more housing, so we're working on that. The other is, and I've heard Councillor Weber talk about, and else, about policies. We have to revamp our policies. Our policies are so old. And we're also working now with the City of Sarnia in a friendship agreement, and we're having the signing ceremony next week with respect to that. So I've been brief a little bit about that. But since coming into the office in July, I have to be briefed on a lot of things, so I'm learning as I go. So we will be sitting with the City of Sarnia next week. We just concluded our water and wastewater agreements, and we have other agreements to work on as well. So there is one of my other goals is to improve the relationships, as I said, with our surrounding neighbors. And they're still not out yet, so maybe we'll just sit for a little bit. I also told them the laugh of the week, and this is good. And you know those little newspapers that you see in the restaurants, coffee time or something? I had to take a picture of it because I thought it was so sweet, so here it goes. It was a grandmother who was surprised by her 7-year-old grandson. He was making her morning coffee, and she was really surprised about that. So he made her the coffee. She drank what was the worst cup of coffee she had in her life. When she got to the bottom, there was 3 little green army men in the cup. And she said, honey, what are the army men doing in the bottom of my coffee cup? And her grandson said, Grandma, it says on TV, the best part of waking up is soldiers in your cup. Well, I thought that was cute. There. So, okay. All right. It is my pleasure to announce that Bill Weber has been elected Warden of Lambton County.
Council, at this time, it would be appropriate for someone to make a motion that Bill Weber be elected Warden of Lambton County Council for the years 2017 and 2018. I see Councillor McDougall. You move that? Yes. And seconder, Councillor Veen. I'd call the question. I ask you to vote at this time. In favor of the motion. And that is unanimous.
Okay, I'll ask that anyone who wishes to run for the Deputy Warden, please rise at this time. Deputy Warden, anybody that wishes to run for Deputy Warden, please rise. Okay, Councillor Brucewicz, we'll have you come forward.
Thank you very much. Miigwech, merci beaucoup. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm at your pleasure. You probably all wonder why a rookie councillor for Lambton County would run for the position of Deputy Warden. There's one very simple answer, and that is flowing from respect I have to each and every one of you for the depth of understanding and knowledge of this county. I would like to catch up with you, and one way to do it would be to accelerate my learning by becoming Deputy Warden. So, that will help me, and that will make me subsequently a better county council member. I have a personal reason to run, and that's current Warden, Bill Weber. Try to get even with him. He is the deputy chair of the Lambton Area Water Supply, so now we have a little bit of a balance. But anyway, I will, if I win, of course. I may not win the chair of the Lambton Area Water Supply either. That's only for another few days. But anyway, I'll be happy with any outcome. I'll be pleased, and thank you for your consideration.
Thank you, Chief Rogers, and good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Congratulations, Bill. I'm done. I've got to get out of here now. I just spent all night, last night, awake, trying to figure out what I was going to say when I'm up here today. And I was going to tell you how great a guy I am and all that kind of stuff. And there's no way I could squeeze that into 2 minutes. So basically, I would just like to ask you for your support as the Deputy Warden. Thank you very much.
Before I ask the scrutineers to come forward to collect the ballots, I should point out that the rules for this election work the same as they do for the warden. There'll be a first ballot. In the event of a tie, there'll be a second ballot. And in the event of a tie there, a name will be drawn out of a hat. Thank you. If the two scrutineers could come forward, please.
Thank you. Okay. I am pleased to announce that John McCharles has been elected to the office of Deputy Warden of Lambton County.
Council, at this time, it would be appropriate for someone to make a motion to destroy all of the ballots for Warden and Deputy Warden. I see Councillor Gillis, seconded by Councillor McGugan, and I'd ask for a vote in support of that motion. And that appears to pass unanimously. Next, at this time, on behalf of the County of Lambton, I want to thank Chief Rogers for having chaired the meeting most ably. Indeed, because I get ahead of myself, not being used to chairing large groups. It would also be appropriate if someone would make a motion recognize or moving that John McCharles become Deputy Warden of Lambton County. That's moved by Councillor Brusewicz and seconded by Councillor Case. I'd ask for a vote in support of that motion. And that carries. I want to thank Chief Rogers at this time for chairing the meeting. Thank you kindly. And as is the long-standing Lambton County custom, I'd ask that the two runners-up please escort Warden Bill Weber to the Warden's office for gowning.
After me, Warden Weaver. I, Bill Weaver,
I, Bill Weber,
do solemnly promise and declare
do solemnly promise and declare
that I will truly,
faithfully,
and impartially,
to
the best of my knowledge and ability, execute the office of Warden, to which I have been elected, in the County of Lambton, and that I have not received
and that I have not received
and will not receive
or will not receive
any payment or reward
any payment or reward
or promise of such
or promise of such
for the exercise
for the exercise
of any impartiality
of any impartiality
or malversation
or malversation
or other undue execution
or other undue execution
of the said office,
of the said office,
and that I have not,
and that I have not,
by myself or partner,
by myself or partner,
either directly or indirectly,
either directly or indirectly,
any interest in any contract
any interest in any contract
with or on behalf
with or on behalf
of the said corporation.
of the said corporation.
At this time, I would ask that our immediate past warden, Bev McDougall, please attend to the front and present to the newly elected warden, Bill Weber, the chain of office, the gavel and procedures manual, and the keys to office.
Okay. Again, Bill, there's the key to the office. Use that and don't scare Jay each time you bang it down on the desk. And wear this with pride in your service to the people of Lambton County. Good luck.
If anyone, if anyone present has a presentation they'd like to make at this time, I'd invite you forward to do so now. Seeing none, I'd like to invite Warden to the chair to make your speech.
Well, it looks different up here. I'm very humbled to have this vote of confidence by my peers at Lambton County. I'm honored to represent you for the next 2 years. I'll do my best to continue the respectful representation that past wardens have done. I look forward to the challenges and opportunities. Together we can build our assets and develop our agriculture, industry, and tourism markets. I want to thank my wife, Ginger, for her support over the years. And as we move forward, we'll do what we can to make sure that we have a good place to be in Lambton County. Thank you. What is the next order of business? Is there any visitors that would like to say any words? Come on over here.
I just want to say on behalf of my community of Amjadang, congratulations.
Item 21 is recognizing past wardens, and we have the list. The yellow, okay. I'll start at the bottom of the list. The Bill Bilton is here. If you could all stand, I'd like that, and then we can recognize you at the end. Bev McDougall, Todd Case, Steve Arnold, Jim Burns, Pat Davison, and John McDonald. These are our past wardens. Thank you for coming. We're going to have a reception with light refreshments in the lobby, and we're going to adjourn to select the striking committee members. Just a motion to adjourn to deal with the striking committee. Is there a motion to adjourn for the moved by Councillor Case, seconded by Councillor Gillis? All in favor of that? That's carried. Thank you. We'll meet back in a half an hour. 1 hour. 1 hour. And we have the striking committee report, and I would ask the clerk to read the minutes or the names from the striking committee, please.
Thank you, Warden. It's my pleasure to indicate that Warden Weeper, Deputy Warden McCharles, Councillors McDougall, Marriott, Arnold, and Case met this morning as the striking committee, and they did move and approve that Councillors McDougall, Marriott, Arnold, and Case would form the members of the committee with Deputy Warden McCharles and Councillor Weber sitting by virtue of office. Councillor Arnold was appointed as chair of the striking committee. Councillor Marriott was appointed as vice chair of the committee. They did move to appoint to the Sarnia-Lambton Economic Partnership Board for a 3-year term Councillors Case, Marriott, Gilliland, and McDougall. And that was carried unanimously. And they also moved to appoint to the Official Plan Committee, the Official Plan Review Committee, I think it'll be called, Councillors Napper, Marriott, Arnold, and McDougall. And again, the Warden and Deputy Warden will sit on that by virtue of office.
Warden? Point of order?
Go ahead.
Mr. Cripps, you said for the Sarnia-Lambton Economic Partnership for 3 years. Did you mean 2?
Well, the motion here says for not more than 2 consecutive 3-year terms. If you're, yeah. So at the moment, it's you're being appointed once for a 3-year term. Right, but we're not appointed as council.
There's an election in 2018, so you can't appoint people for 3 years if you don't know that they're going to be there. Do you understand what I mean? We're having trouble.
I do, but you're not being appointed as members of county council You're not sitting there by virtue of office. You're being appointed as representatives of quadrants of Lambton County as private citizens. You're not sitting there as councillors. So even if you were to not be elected in 2 years, you'd still have that position for another one, at least.
Clarification.
Thank you for that clarification. Any other questions? I would call for a motion to adopt the striking committee report as presented. Moved by Councillor Veen, seconded by Councillor Han. Any further questions or discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. Thank you. And we have the AM and PM committees, and we need just recess for a minute, and I'd like the AM committee over here and the PM committee over there, and we'd like you to select your chair.
Mr. Warden, could you read out who's on what, please? Thank you.
At this time, I'd remind you, you do have the capacity to switch your AM or PM membership so long as you switch with another elected official who's part of your quadrant. Having said that, at this time, Committee AM for 2017 will consist of Councillor Napper, Councillor Arnold, Councillor Gillis, Councillor Veen, Councillor Cook, Councillor Brusewich, Councillor Marriott, and Councillor Case. So there'll be Committee AM on this side. And Committee PM are Councillors Broad, Bouchy, McCharles, Gilliland, McGugan, Bradley, Hand, and McDougall. And they'll be your Committee PM and
We ready? Robin, I'm going to bang the bat. I will call us back to order, and we have the standing committee reports. Would the clerk read the minutes of the standing committee? One of you guys.
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Warden. I'll try to read my handwriting here. It's probably just as easy to focus on the core here. We had 4 motions passed with the AM committee. We had a quorum. The first motion was moved by Councillors Veen and Marriott that we nominate Emery Gillis as chair of the committee for 2017, and that was carried. The second motion is that it was moved by Councillors Napper and Case that Steve Arnold be appointed as vice chair for the committee for 2017, and that was carried. Motion number 3 was moved by Councillors Case and Arnold that Councillor Marriott be appointed to sit on the County of Lambton Agricultural Advisory Committee for 2017, and that was carried. And then we had a motion to adjourn moved by Councillors Gillis and Bean that the committee adjourn and that we meet next on January the 18th, 2017.
I would look for a motion to adopt that report. Councillor Case and Councillor Bukowicz. Any questions? All in favor? That's carried. Thank you. And the PM committee.
Thank you, Warden. I can report that Committee PM met and had a quorum. Councillor Broad moved and Councillor Hand seconded that Councillor McDougall act as chair for 2017, and that was carried. Councillor McCharles moved and Councillor Bouchy seconded that Councillor Gilliland act as vice chair for 2017, and that was carried. Councillor Gilliland moved and Councillor Broad seconded that Councillor Napper be appointed as chair of the County of Lambton Accessibility Advisory Committee, and that was carried. Councillor McDougall moved, Councillor Bouchy seconded that Councillor Hand be appointed as chair of the Adult Enrichment Centre Advisory Committee. That's a 2-year appointment. And Deputy Warden McCharles moved and Councillor McDougall seconded that Councillors Gilliland, Broad, McDougall, and Hand be appointed to the Audit Committee, and that was carried. The meeting was then adjourned. Thank you.
Okay. Could I have a motion to adopt those minutes as presented? Councillor Napper, seconded by Councillor Gilliland. Any questions? All in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Thank you. Motion 29, a motion to authorize the clerk to prepare bylaws covering the appointments to committees, boards, and commissions approved by council this day. Introduce the bylaws.
Thank you, Warden. There are 3 bylaws before County Council this morning. Those are the bylaws to appoint the Warden and Deputy Warden, to repeal a schedule of the speed limit, the highways bylaw, and then the confirming bylaws. There's a motion that bylaws numbers 31 to 33 of 2016 as circulated be taken as read a first and second time. That's moved by Councillor Gillis and seconded by Councillor Veen.
Any questions? All in favor? Opposed? Carried.
Warden, there's a motion moved by Councillor Arnold and seconded by Councillor Broad that bylaws numbers 31 to 33 of 2016 as circulated be taken as read a third time and finally passed.
Any questions? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. Yes, we have a motion to adjourn, but before we do, I just want to, Councillor Bod, well, you were moving the motion. I was going to wish everybody from our home Merry Christmas, and from the County of Lambton happy holidays, and season's greetings to everybody. Have a safe and happy holiday. Motion to adjourn. Councillor Broad, second by Councillor Boucher. Questions? All in favor? Opposed? It's still carried.